I can hear the cheering now as we move into this very useful topic of food and nutrition service math. The context will be math that is useful to measure and document productivity, which is a measure of the output of goods or services in relation to the inputs of resources, goods and services like meals or nutrition assessments, and of course inputs, labor, food, groceries, etc. The output of goods or services is sometimes also known as a unit of service. After viewing this screencast, you will be able to describe what a full-time equivalent is and calculate the number of full-time equivalents when given a time period and the total hours worked by a work group. Today, we're starting with a measure of labor hours that's known as the full-time equivalent, for brevity, FTE. I've included images of schedules that students have shared from their workplace to illustrate the variety of shifts commonly scheduled in food service operations, both retail and on-site. The food service industry in particular sees significant changes in volume on most days associated with the times when most consumers prefer to eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You can see images here from my favorite choice for a hamburger, Five Guys, that illustrate staffing needs during the peak meal period and then perhaps mid-afternoon or even in the morning before the doors open. Here's the schedule from another popular burger place here in San Luis Obispo. The worker who provided this schedule reported that the shifts are open-ended depending on volume, so employees might work a short time and get sent home, or they might stay and work a full 8 hours if the restaurant is busy. It does not make financial sense to have everyone work 8 hours because there are times in the day when there isn't enough to keep them busy. And as a business owner or on-site operator, you want to be sure that employees are productive during as much of their work time as possible. To make this information useful, it's necessary to add together all of the hours worked to come up with a total number of hours that is simple to use and meaningful to the manager when comparing against the budget or other standards. If you're calculating a daily FTE total, you will include all of the hours worked in one day and divide by 8, which is the hours worked by one full-time employee. For a week, total the hours and divide by 40. For a month, total the hours for the month and divide by 173.3, which is derived by taking 2,080, one full-time employee for a year, and dividing by 12. Or for a year, the total hours worked in a year divided by 2,080. This can be done retrospectively based on time records or prospectively as the schedule is planned or modified based on anticipated volume. This schedule from a local Starbucks is unique because it is just for one day. Though I don't understand all of the notations, it appears that every X represents 1 hour worked. So I counted up the hours, ignoring the other notations, and arrived at a total of 60 hours needed to cover one workday at this business. Divide by 8 because it's one day, and you arrive at a figure for comparison of 7.5 FTEs worked if everyone works precisely the amount scheduled. No early or late arrivals or departures. Of course, we know that seldom a schedule is that precise, but we'll talk about timeliness of employees in another part of this class. Notice that if the schedule were exactly the same every day in a 1-week period, which again is not likely, but we'll use for the sake of simplicity, the total hours worked would be 420 divided by 40, which equals 10.5 FTEs. If every day is the same, why do we need 10.5 instead of 7.5 as calculated by the example? Because when we need to cover an entire week, we need relief coverage. An easy example would be a full-time dishwasher that works 40 hours Monday through Friday. That position needs to be covered on the weekend, which adds 16 hours or 0.4 FTEs to the plan for the week. These calculations can be used daily to keep track of and adjust a schedule up or down according to volume, but most often they're used at the end of a period, week or month is most common, to compare hours worked against a budget or industry standard for FTEs for a similar organization with a similar volume. We'll move on to these other calculations and examples in upcoming screencasts, but for now I'll just share my references. Thank you so much.